So yesterday I get an email from a viewer that asked a question. He said, "I've watched your 520 video," and he said, "How do you replace the bulbs in the VFO FIX and RIT that's in the display?" And the bulbs he was talking about is these three bulbs here across the top of the analog dial. Well, unfortunately, there is no quick way of doing this. You can get to the panel bulbs, but these three LEDs is going to take a little more work to get to. So the first thing you probably should do is grab your camera, take a couple of pictures, and that's just a reference where which knob goes where and so forth, so it makes it a little bit easier to put on in case you forget of which style knob goes, in which location. So I guess we're going to pull the case off of this and get on in there and show you how to get to these bulbs so they can be replaced. Okay, I have the covers off the radio, and we're looking at the side of it here, and you can see the main VFO, and there's a bracket that holds the VFO in. When you look down into this area where you think those lights are, you can see the display light up at the top here, but you cannot see those LED lights. So what we're going to do is remove the whole front plate and get that out of the way. We have to take all the knobs off, pull this plate out, then we're going to pull this unit out, and we'll show you just exactly how to do that. It doesn't fall out that easily. It takes a little work to get this off. So let me go ahead and turn it around, and we'll take all these knobs off so we can take the 4 screws out of the front panel and pull it off. So I've removed all the knobs from the radio, all but the analog dial here and the nut on the fixed channel switch. And all you have to do is just loosen this up, and this will come out. And note when you do that, your plate will fall out. So make sure you're holding that when you take that loose so you don't drop this in the floor and break it or scratch it. You also need to take out this analog dial here, and it's just 2 small Phillips screws. It doesn't matter how it goes back on, because this is adjustable. So just loosen up those 2 screws, and you ain't got to loosen them much. You ain't got to take them all the way out, and then this slides right off. Now if you notice here, there's a bearing, and it's held on by 2 screws. We'll take that off in just a minute. But now there's 2 screws on top and 2 on the bottom that holds the faceplate on. Now we can see more of our LEDs here, but at this point you still can't get to it, so we're going to have to dig in just a little bit further. So we're going to go ahead and remove our 2 screws that hold our bearing on for the VFO shaft, and that just slides right off. Now if you look here on the top of this, you'll have 2 screws here, and there's 2 screws here on the bottom that holds this VFO in. You'll need to go ahead and remove those. Now at this point, your VFO is now loose. But what we're going to do is here on this corner, we're going to remove this screw and we're going to loosen this screw on both sides. So you have 3 shafts on the top that go all the way through the radio and into the PA compartment back here in the back. What you'll need to do is go ahead and take these nuts loose and get these off so that you'll have some play in these so you can pull this front panel over. Now I want to warn you now, when you pull this front place out, it's possible that this shaft can drop and these chains can come off. If the chains come off, you can get your capacitors out of alignment. So you don't want the capacitors out of alignment, you want to keep everything in time. So to be sure yourself, you can take you something as simple as a little paint marker and you can come down here and put a mark on the gear and the chain. And do the same to the top. Just one tooth and the chain. So if anything happens where one of these chains come off, you have witness marks here to line it back up. Then you can take a little isopropyl alcohol and a brush and remove that paint from that if you don't want it on there. So if you look back here in the back of the VFO, you're going to see an RCA connector, and right below that is a little black 2-prong plug. You'll need to go ahead and disconnect those. I'm just using a little small screwdriver just to reach down there and unplug them, and they're out of the way. Also, I didn't tell you earlier, but you have to take the nut off the band select switch, so that'll give you a little more free. Now you should be able to rock this forward just a little bit. It doesn't have to come much, and you just heard the VFO drop down. So at this point, all we need to do is, there's 2 screws here, go ahead and remove those. And that holds a little circuit board in place. Should be able to slide the panel out. And you need to bring it out this side. Be careful not to scratch up your dial face. So if you notice here, there's 2 screws that is holding this little piece of metal on. Get a bigger screwdriver. Screws are really tight. They've been in there a long time. Alright, I'm going to have to work on that one a little bit. That screw was very tight. In fact, the inside of the screw was kind of messed up. The screwdriver didn't want to fit it. I had to take a little small pair of side cutters and grasp the screw and turn it. But now we should be able to pull this plate off. Now you can see there's our 3 LEDs. And there's 3 screws that hold the circuit board on to this bracket. There's 2 up at the top and there's 1 down at the bottom. We should be able to pull those right off. Here, somebody has had these off before. There's another one that's got a bad thread on it. Okay, I got the booger out. So if you just lift this up, push your dial lights back, you better pull this board right out and over to the right hand side of the radio. While you're in here, go ahead and check these resistors. Check your solder connections that's on the back. And you should be able to take your diode test and test these LEDs. But that's how you get to them. Remember, if your VFO light, that voltage is controlled from your VFO switch. The RIT, your voltage is going to be controlled to your RIT button. That's where you're going to get your power from. And your fixed LED is controlled also by the VFO fix switch. So that's where your voltage will be coming from. So you can check the voltages down there if you get the schematic. I'm pretty sure if you already able to break this down, you should be able to look at the schematic and find your voltages if you want to check your voltages before you get here. But a lot of times the switch can be dirty, and that'll keep the voltage from getting up here. But then most of the time your radio will not work at all. So if you're transmitting, receiving, everything's working fine, and your LEDs just don't work, then most likely they have gone bad and will need to be replaced. And if you go into the schematic, you can find out the Kenwood part numbers for these, and you should be able to substitute other LEDs of your choice. If you don't like red, and go with any other color. And you know, you have to check your voltages on your LEDs, make sure they're compatible. If not, you'll need to put a resistor in line with these wires, and they're marked over here on the side. Zoom in on this right here. You can see it says, you know, fixed, VFO, ground, and RIT. So anyway, I hope this will help you. Now, I wanted to pull this one apart because I got my RIT bulb does flicker. So I'm going to go ahead and change these out. And I've checked everything else in the power stash, just that the bulb is flickering. So I think it's this LED is about to go. So I'm going to go ahead and replace these with some new ones, clean this board up, and put it back together. Okay, so when you're replacing the LEDs, it's very important to make sure that you know that the anode side goes to the top of the board, the cathode side goes to the bottom of the board. So this is going to be your positive, and that's going to be your ground. Alright, so if you don't remember how a LED is, just say rough sketch, your cathode side will be the longer, and sometimes there's a flat spot on this side, so this will be your cathode. The shorter lead, if you're looking into the LED, you can see it. This is your anode side. So positive, negative. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and wasn't very hard to do. It just takes, you know, 15 minutes to get this apart. Wasn't too bad. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, and we'll catch you next time.